Hey guys, it's Eric here at Farpoint Farms. Check it out, man. If the last 2 weeks have taught me anything, it's that being prepared, having a little bit of extra food on hand, food that doesn't need to be refrigerated, but it is still quality, is super important. And you know, we're blessed to have survived Hurricane Helene with minimal damage to the property, just some flooding and a loss of a driveway and a little bit of flooding in one of the buildings. But we were able to keep our refrigerator and our freezer going using solar, and that's a different video. But we did rely heavily on non-perishables, canned goods, and like pastas, stuff like that. So this is kind of the resupply because we did burn through quite a bit of that stuff. Keystone reached out to me. I was well aware of who Keystone is. We have a lot of their stuff already, but they were interested in sending this to me to show off to you guys. And I want to talk to you about the value of canned meats specifically. Yeah, you can get canned corn, canned green beans, canned potatoes, and pretty much lima beans I like too, so you can keep from getting scurvy in a bad situation. But meat, you know, the only meats that are usually available at the grocery store are ones that are stupidly high in sodium. Spam, which I love to death, but my arteries are not too fond of anymore, is so high in fat content, so high in sodium content, it's just really not good for people, especially as we start to get a little older. Canned ham is the same way. I love canned ham. I have it for breakfast, either spam or ham every morning, and it's always canned. But you can get those, and sometimes, most of the time, you can get chicken and tuna as well. But Keystone really sets himself apart by offering beef products that aren't, you know, like corned beef, again, a lot of sodium. Ground beef here, 2 pounds, fully cooked, so you're not going to burn off a lot of fat, a lot of water content. And the cool thing about Keystone is there's no water added and no preservatives. It's just meat and salt, and that's about all it is, and there's very little salt in there. So they have ground beef here, fully cooked. They have regular shredded beef or beef chunks, fully cooked, no water added, no preservatives. And the ingredient list on this is something that'll make you pretty proud of yourself for buying it. No carbohydrates, which means no fillers. And I'm looking for the sodium here, but there's not a whole lot in there. Sodium content is 2.4 milligrams, so hardly any at all in this thing. Beef and sea salt are the two ingredients. That's it. Fully cooked. Next up, we have pork. Now, Jen and I do can our own pork, but if you can any meat, if you're familiar with the whole canning process, pressure cooker, a lot of time and energy. I mean, you have to run this thing up to 12 psi, well 15 up here in the mountains, and then run it for a good long time. So that's just wasting a lot of energy. Well, you can get this fully cooked with just the same ingredients, pork. Chicken, of course, just like, you know, chicken you're going to get at the store, except this is much higher quality and also a whole lot lower sodium. My wife would prefer that we use this. Cost-wise, too, by the way, these are actually very reasonable. In my area, I can get the ground pork here for 10 bucks for 2 pounds. So you're talking about a canned product that's already cooked, so you burned off all the water content in it, for about the same price as what ground beef raw goes for, and then you'd have to worry about canning it. And lastly, turkey. The only turkey that I've had canned, I've never tried this before, so I'll make something out of this later on. The only turkey I've ever tried is turkey spam. Again, highly processed. This is chunk turkey, so I'm kind of curious what that's going to be like. So tonight, what I want to do here is I'm going to take the cooked ground beef here, and we're going to open that up. I'll heat it up a little bit just by itself, just to give you a taste test what my opinion is on that. Although I've had it before, I can tell you it's pretty good. And then I'm going to be mixing half of this, so 1 pound, with our spaghetti sauce. We can our own spaghetti sauce here on the farm, and it's pretty good. But if you know anything again about canning, you can hot water bath can vegetables or some vegetables. And so we usually do our salsa and our spaghetti sauce without any meat, and then we add that later on if we want to. So that's why I've got spaghetti sauce that's kind of bare. We'll add that and a little bit of seasoning to it. And then not going to be filmed, but I have a can of salsa as well. And we'll mix the other half in here, and we'll make like tacos, fajitas, whatever you want to call those. So let me get the camera closer in, and we will get this can opened up. we'll get some spaghetti going, and we'll get this process doing. It's been an interesting 2 weeks, so it's kind of interesting to be back filming with power on, and it's also a little bit of a game changer for my mentality, as far as I used to kind of be ashamed, or I don't know if ashamed is the right word, but I used to just be kind of shy about talking about the fact that it's not a bad idea to have a little extra stuff around your house, you know, in case of bad times. I don't feel that way right now, and I'm sure the people in Western North Carolina, in Tennessee, in Georgia, in South Carolina, and now, you know, by the time this is posted, Florida will have dealt with a Category 4 or Category 5 hurricane themselves. So my heart goes out to them as much as it goes out to my fellow townspeople and county people and friends and family and all the rest. Anyway, let's get on with it. All right, so let's open this thing up. Look at that. Oh, it smells good. All right, so fully cooked. You can eat it just out of here if you had to. And yeah. And it's good just like that. Wow, I could just sit here and eat the whole thing. My opinion is you don't want to get rid of that fat. There's very little fat in this, but fat for both nutrient reasons and for the fact that it adds flavor is something you probably want to keep in there. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, just for the sake of this video, is I'm going to put half of this can into a pot and we'll heat it up so I can show you what it looks and tastes like when it's warm. All right, so we'll get about half of it in there. That's probably about half. And you can see what I mean, like no water. Like look at, no water, no draining. You think about the chicken and the tuna that you get from the store these days, and half the can, if not more, is water, which is just garbage. They're proving that you don't need to pack it like that. All right, so I'm gonna put that in the fridge for tomorrow night. We'll get this heated up and we'll go from there. And while that's warming up, I'm gonna go ahead and start the water here as well. Our spaghetti sauce is, well, my wife's a really good cook, I'll put it that way. She's really good at this stuff. Oh yeah, it smells good too. So we're just gonna add that to that, and I'll probably add a little bit of Italian seasoning to it. You can doctor it up, you know, as you taste it, but all right, that's almost ready. I was just thinking to myself that, like, with the cost of ground beef, with the cost of everything, I almost feel like a vegetarian lately because we eat so little actual meat, especially red meat. I haven't had a steak and I can't remember how long. So even ground beef like this is a real treat, and I'm looking forward to having a nice dinner with some in it. The chicken can only hold you for so long, you know. All right, this should be warmed up here. I don't want to burn myself, but let's try that out and see if it tastes any different hot. Nice, it's good, just good. Okay, I'm gonna add my spaghetti sauce to it, and we'll mix that up real good and let that cook for a while. Yeah, that's gonna be really hearty, really hearty. All right, we'll let that go, get my water boiling, and we'll get some spaghetti going in there, and we'll be good to go with dinner in no time. All right, onions is the other thing. You gotta be careful canning onions. They almost like to have a pressure canner, and we don't wanna run any risks, so I usually, and they store really well too, so I usually just add my onions into my mixes later. When Jen cans her stuff, we just leave that out and kind of add it in here later on. Get that water boiling. This will be ready. And I think the last thing I'm going to do, add a little bit of Italian seasoning. It's just powdered seasoning, you know. I've got some garlic powder. Maybe we'll put a little garlic salt in there. Garlic powder. There we go. Yeah, all right, and just a little bit of Italian seasoning in there, just a little oregano and whatnot. This is that Walmart stuff. There we go. And that ought to do it. Let that simmer for a little while longer. All right, I'm about to offend some Italians here because I'm going to break this up. I know that is sacrilege in some communities. But, well, I didn't want to break out the big pan, so. Okay, so the spaghetti is ready. I'm going to drain that off, and then we are ready to try this thing out. All right, let's get a little of this in here. Meaty. There we go. Maybe, there we go. And I'll leave, Jen is not home yet. She should be here, but a lot of traffic issues ever since all the roads disappeared in our county. So, yeah, they're having some difficulties. All right, well, here we are. Let's give it a try here. Yeah, that's perfect. The meat is definitely a high quality meat, and with a little bit of seasoning and you know, doctoring it up, it certainly is something that is more than something you'd want to eat. Look, I really appreciate Keystone stepping up. They heard about the storm, they heard about the damage, they heard that we were off grid for 2 weeks, and they reached out and said, hey, we'd like to send you this. I mean, that is a huge, huge deal to just have a company be like, hey, we want to help you out, want to send you some food, help you recover. So I appreciate them, and I also want you to know that it's good food and it's something you probably ought to have sitting around on the shelf for events like the one that I just lived through, for the events like the one that poor people in Florida are living through right now. Till next time, my friends, take care.